Welcome to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. We believe wise investing starts with your plan, and your investments may have merit, relevance to a time and place, but this all depends on you, your objectives, and your goals. My name is Seth Krussman, and I'm here with Ben Brayshaw and John Ryder. We're all planners and partners with Brayshaw Financial Group. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Seth.
Good morning, Seth.
Now take your turns over there.
How are you doing this morning, Seth? You got a big smile on your face, so what's going on?
He's happy because he was just cutting through the nice trails there out in Oregon. Oregon.
We actually finally got some snow out here. It's been
nice.
pretty. It's been wet, but we just haven't gotten the snow that we normally do. So we got it some time to get up to the mountain, Kira and I, and we oh my gosh, we just had such a great day.
Nice.
One of those where it's so good that you put yourself so far that the next day you can't get off the couch because your legs don't work.
Nice, though. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So we're glad you're listening to Money on Tap. And if you're looking to sit down with an advisor and start making some of the right steps towards your financial goals, we welcome the opportunity to do that with you. And you can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook, 3D Investing. Now today, we're going to be answering some questions that you, our clients and listeners, have been asking. So while we're diving into these, it may inspire other questions. I don't know if that's your experience or not, but it's like I get a question answered and it's just like I have three more questions pop up that I keep like, well, then what about that? And what about that? Well, if that's you today, we welcome the opportunity for you to join in with us. And you can call us at 855-226-8551 or reach out to us again at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And I think it's going to be some fun. I think it's going to be informative. I think we're all looking forward to it. But right now, it's time for Money in the News. This is that time in our show where we highlight stories and news that have to do with money and finances. And first one's kind of really funny. Actually, it's a change in the guard that I don't think any of us have been able to see coming.
I think Ben's going to be upset with this one. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's an article from NPR, and you could find this on multiple news sources out there, but we'll just pick NPR. LL Bean scraps legendary lifetime return policy. Okay, so LL Bean, the place up here in Freeport, Maine.
Yeah.
That was it's a classic place where you pay 3 times as much for the equipment because you know that at any time, if you bought a coat back in 1969, the stitching is going on, guess what you can do? You can bring it back for a full-time refund. Or you could do that. Now that has changed. Ben, I know you are just a slight bit bitter about this news story. Is that
I don't
because,
know about bitter. But
are you one of those people that would go to the yard sales and go buy a bunch of LL Bean stuff and then the next day bring it in to return for all new stuff?
No,
Okay.
not at all. But I will say that I have been, we shop at LL Bean all the time. Love the place. And the quality of this stuff, I truly believe, is better than most.
Sure.
I mean, I think it's significantly durable. They do sell some third-party stuff. That's become more of a trend. They don't just sell. They used to sell just LL
So
Bean
they slap an LL Bean label on it.
Yeah, so now they're selling everything, and then they're getting warranties on that. But I've always overpaid at LL Bean for coats or this, that, and the other thing. But I do remember one of the remarkable stories of LL Bean. We had bought a tent there, and we went camping with it one weekend, and it turned out there was a defective hole in the bottom of the tent. And it was an LL Bean tent.
Not one that you had caused.
No, not one we had caused. Yeah, it was just
put your hunting knife into it.
Yeah, no, wasn't any of my kid. And so we brought it back, and they said, "Oh yeah, this is defective." So she's like, "Well, go get another tent." And I said, "Okay." So I went down to the whatever tent section because we were actually camping in Maine, and they didn't have the tent we had. And I said, "Oh, they don't have it." I said, "You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll just patch it and take it. No big deal." She's like, "Well, did they have any other 10-person tents?" And I was like, "Well, they do, but it's not the same tent." She goes, "Well, did you like those tents?" I was like, "Yeah, they're nice. I mean, one was a North Face and this."
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm walking out of that store with probably the nicest 10-person tent you could possibly buy on the marketplace because they were just like, "You just need to be satisfied leaving here." And I was like, I feel guilty leaving here.
Ben, did you use that tent?
I think it was a little different.
Yeah.
I like your story, Ben, but I think it was a little bit more like they were just like, "Can we please get this person out the
Out of our
door as
store.
quickly as possible. They're ruining our vibe.
So Ben,
here.
you used the tent once, and was there a hole again in it? Ben, that's what I want to know.
No holes.
No, okay,
So,
okay.
so anyways, what's funny about that story? So I brought the tent up, and she's like, "Okay, here's the tent." She's like, "Is that everything?" And it's like, "Well, it's a tent." She's like, "Well, what's the problem?" I said, "No problem." She goes, "Well," I said, "Well, it doesn't have the footprint or the vestibule and stuff that the other tent comes."
Yeah.
She goes, "Well, do they have it downstairs?" I said, "Yeah, but I'll just buy those separately." Because this tent was over twice as much as the tent I bought. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just buy those separately. I said, this is really gracious of you guys. And,
Yeah.
and so forth. And she's like, nope, if it had the vestibule, you're going to.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, really.
It's all
energized.
because of that employee. She was giving the store away, and they couldn't take it anymore there at LL Bean in
Did
Freeport.
you ever
They
go
were done.
camping again?
Yes.
Was that like your one and done? Okay.
Yeah.
So Ben has a nice tent if anyone needs to borrow it. We just know that. That's nice to know.
10
That's
people.
Nice to know.
10 people.
And if I set it
10
on
person.
fire because I put a campfire inside the tent because it's so big and it goes on fire, then we can probably we can't get our money back anymore.
If you
Ben
bring
probably
back-
won't lend it to me now.
If you bring back a little shred of the fired tent, it burned up on me.
It did. It did. This is supposed to be fire retardant material. What is going on? Yeah.
That's horrible.
Oh,
I do.
man.
I think
So
from,
it's the
Go
it's
ahead.
the abuse of this policy really is
That's what's happened.
over the time. I mean, not Ben.
No.
You did the right thing there, and
Good job,
and
Ben.
Oh no, I've tossed away stuff that I've
what
like.
it's
No,
for.
I had a pair of shoes I got from there, and I literally wore those all the time, and they like the soles fell off. And I was like, I'm not going to return those. That's embarrassing.
So there's actually a market online, and this actually happens where people were actually shopping, looking for LL Bean stuff. Doesn't matter what it was because they didn't care, and they'd just go around looking for LL Bean labels. They'd go to thrift shops, they go to yard sales, just collecting all the stuff, and then they put it all into a big grocery bag, a big garbage bag, and bring it into LL Bean, asking for returns on all their stuff. Just terrible. And so
I think they could do this. I think they could still. I mean, honestly, I think they could. They're going to have to change a lot about LL Bean now because people would pay the excessive prices that. I mean, you look at a coat, you could go shop the same exact coat from any of the outfitters almost, that third parties that they used, and pay $50 to $100 less on a ski coat.
Yeah.
Somewhere else. So I mean, they were charging for that policy.
But I guess the fact was that people could go out, if you were this way, you could go out and say, well, this is the last coat I'll ever buy. This is the last pair of hiking shoes I'll ever buy because I know I'll bring it back if I have to. And I'm not saying that's the majority, but you know what? There must obviously have been a large amount of people doing that.
They're going to have to become extremely competitive on pricing. They're a regular retailer now, and so which is something I'm sure they're going to be ready for because they have to.
Sure. I'm sure this was not made overnight. In fact, I remember years ago them talking about this, and finally they've implemented it. So
Yeah. The other thing is I'm curious how this is going to affect them, but I also think they could have done this better. They could have said, all right, listen, you can return anything. They could have added, that you have the receipt for, for more than a
I like
year.
that receipt one, yeah, because the receipt makes a difference. You can't just go out and
You owned it. You didn't
Yeah.
get it at a yard sale.
Yeah.
If
they
you really,
can always track your information back if you have an account with them or if you buy your credit card or kind of like the box stores do.
Yeah.
So that would have been an easy way to do that too.
Going from infinity to 12 months seems a little bit of a giant leap. I mean, if you can't get 2 or 3 years out of a good winter coat kind of thing.
right. You're too hard on it.
No, I'm serious. I mean, on some
Right.
level.
I wouldn't be surprised if they still have some kind of a really great guarantee around their products. Maybe it's not the lifetime, but it's probably something that's substantial. And I don't know that there's any information there yet, but that would really shock me if they just went to a straight 30-day or something like that.
Well,
That's more
it's 1 year,
retail-oriented.
right? It's just 1 year now.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So with your receipt or whatever and so forth, I think it's going to have a huge impact on their sales.
Okay.
So Ben, are you recommending that we all short LL Bean stock? Or is there even LL Bean stock? It's privately held,
I
isn't
think
it?
it's privately
held. Yeah. So, okay. So next story, money in the news here.
Probably would have been thrown out of the radio business if I start talking about
That's
short
right.
stock, right? Thanks, John.
So speaking about shorting, it sounds like in this next article from Investment News, Mary Beth Franklin writes in 2018 here, actually just in February, that Social Security, the actual headline is Social Security underpaid 82% of duly entitled widows and widowers. Agency failed to tell survivors they could switch to a higher retirement benefit later.
This is huge.
It's
Yeah.
huge. So there's this internal audit, and it was actually given to determine whether the Social Security Administration has adequate controls to inform widows and widowers of their option to claim survivor benefits initially and delay applying for their own retirement benefits until age 70, when those benefits would be worth more than their survivor benefits. So it says this, the article says this. The short answer is no, but it gets worse. Based on a random sample, the Inspector General found that 82% of current beneficiaries who are duly entitled to survivor benefits and their own retirement benefits would have received a higher monthly benefit if Social Security Administration had informed them of the option to delay their retirement application until age 70. Now, what does that tell you?
Well, so for the listener, right? I mean, you could have collected your survivor benefit. I mean, collected your own benefit while delaying your husband's benefit or something like that, and so forth. And that's what they're talking about, is maximizing those dollars. Now, what's interesting is, we have a Social Security expert, in our office who, Ken, who's great, worked for Social Security for over 30 years, and they're not allowed to give advice.
Right. They can tell you a lot of information.
If you ask the right questions, they can tell you, but they can't. They're legally not allowed to provide advice because of liability. And it's really interesting. What I think is funny is, well, it's not really funny. I mean, it's pretty horrific that they're not being given the right perspective on what they should be doing. But one of the statistics here says that of the 41 beneficiaries in the random sample, 34 were 70 or older, and Social Security Administration underpaid them a total of $485,911.
That's a lot, only based on 41.
In addition, 7 beneficiaries were under 70, and the SSA will underpay them $36,300 annually, beginning in the year they attain age 70. Only one beneficiary, representing 2% of the random sample, correctly applied only for survivor benefits initially and delayed her retirement application until the retirement benefit exceeded the widow's benefit, meaning that she delayed her retirement and collected her spousal benefit there. Now, that's $500,000. I mean, kudos to the Social Security Administration for saving us some money in the Social Security. I mean, Social Security gets a lot of raps about running out of money in 2034 or 32. But truth is maybe the reason that date changes so much is because they're not sure how many widows and widowers they're going to take on the carpet on this thing.
Only a small sample they gave too. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In fact, it says this.
Yeah.
Seth has to mention real
But
quickly.
if you got one person, I mean, this is a gross
Well, the Inspector
scenario
General
here.
says this. They estimate that 11,123 duly eligible surviving spouses would have been eligible for a higher monthly benefit had they delayed their retirement application until age 70. So that's a big problem.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of nuances to Social Security and benefits, and it's one of the great benefits that I love about working with Ken here is you can ask him anything. And of course, he worked there for his entire career, and now retired, working with us at Brayshaw Financial. It's amazing just the different ways that you can construct the Social Security payout. And maximize the Social Security payout. And I'm sometimes in awe, like at how we're able to go ahead and pay different people different times, do different things, leverage different ways to create different payouts. And you know what? So many people just say, "Oh, am I eligible?" Done. And they hit the button and they started it now. And it's understandable, like money, bird in the hand is better than, two in the bush, so to speak. But it's not always true. But that's a general instinct that I think most of us have to fall in line with. Wait a second, I can get this money now, and how? Let's do it.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about this is that when you break it down, right, people who have financial planners wouldn't have lost the estimated $131 million of proceeds that they could have received from the Social Security Administration.
Had it been
That's the
properly
estimate.
planned, yeah.
That's the estimate. That's huge.
Wow. Well, I think that's going to do it for us at Money in the News. You're listening to Money on Tap, and we're going to take a quick break. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com.
Hi, my name is Seth Krussman, partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. One of the biggest concerns and largest expenses people face today is taxes. Without thoughtful planning, taxes can destroy future retirement dollars, eliminating the possibility of a timely retirement or dreams of what you want retirement to look like. If you're like most people, you're getting closer and closer to retirement, and you may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. Will my income be enough? Will rising taxes force me to give up my dreams? How does inflation factor into all of this? These are real concerns, and you're not alone. Putting a plan around your financial future is what we do. If you have questions when it comes to your financial security, and if you're looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group, 855-226-8551. It's time for you to start getting answers to your questions. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, Brayshaw Financial has offices across the country. We'd love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us. Call us at 855-226-8551. 855-226-8551.
More Money on Tap in just a moment. On today's Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, John Ryder and Ben Brayshaw help us consider our investments in light of the demographic shift between baby boomers and millennials and the economic change that is certain to come.
We have people that are looking for guidance out there for, hey, how should I have my portfolio set? How should I have my allocations and all that? So, Ben, let's talk a little bit about what we talk with when people come into our office about ways in which they should perhaps structure their portfolio. What kind of things should we be looking at?
John, we talk about everything under the sun. I mean, there's not really anything we don't handle for the most part in the investment world. But it doesn't mean you have to take a huge amount of risk in this world to actually make money because of this demographic shift. I think that's the real story that exists out there, and people aren't really giving it the credit and the validity that it needs. And we talk to people all the time saying the baby boomers are coming through buying up yield-producing, dividend-producing assets. Those things are going to rise in value as the demand for them increases. We're at the front end of this tidal wave. This is an opportunity to take advantage of those yielding assets if you know what you're doing, because you can probably take less risk and potentially see better returns. Because of that shift, because of that tidal wave, because of the demand for income-producing assets by people who are retiring, because that's what they need is income. Now, at the end of the day, though, it may not be true. It may not work because you have the millennials coming through, and that's a whole nother swing. So you've got these polar opposites, that ping-pong table going on between those two age brackets. Now, at the end of the day, those people are going to be spending, the baby boomers are going to be spending, and where they're going to be spending is not exactly the same kind of thing, but it could be. There could be some similar overlaps. But I think ultimately, kind of the traditional stock market investments where you have a certain amount of risky stuff and not so risky and real conservative and all that kind of generic malarkey, I think it has come down to that because the old story no longer fits the current demographic swing.
So it's not like it always was. Times are changing.
Yeah, times are changing. You know, you think about, was it Lee Iacocca when he created all the different cars moving with the baby boomers? Why was he so successful? He made the minivan and all the different vehicles. I remember seeing a story about him and how he went through that, and he just kept meeting the desires of that age bracket. Age brackets coming through now, they're looking for income. That's one of the things why the bond world, the annuity world, the dividend stock world, the low-risk portfolios are so attractive because they want that station wagon. But I think if you're not taking that scenario into play, you're going to miss the whole cart. And it's going to literally walk right by you and maybe trample you in the marketplace.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Now here's more Money on Tap with Seth, Ben, and John.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, fee-based planning. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Today, we'd like to answer some common questions that people have when it comes to their taxes. And since we're in filing season, we thought it would be a good idea to answer some of these questions that we've had around this time of the year. But before we get into the tax questions, though, we had a question from a listener come in that was a follow-up question in regards to thoughts on Social Security. So it kind of segues nicely from the Social Security piece that we were just talking about. But this is what he writes. It says, "Good morning. On your podcast, you guys are often talking about your concerns about baby boomers and retirement." And yeah, we do. We do that a lot.
As charged. We do talk a lot about that. Yeah.
Well, he goes on to say this, and yes, it sounds a little bit scary, but why don't you take into consideration a new generation of taxpayers that are following behind, as well as the legal immigrants that are coming into the country and paying into the system? Doesn't that kind of balance the situation?
And, I think that's a great question. We're going to call our valuable listener, Doug, even though he has a different name here. We're protecting him here. But, Doug, we really appreciate you listening to the show. We appreciate your questions, and just to really appreciate having you in our audience and having you as a client as well. But just to clarify a little bit, I think we do talk often and have a kind of a negative opinion when it comes to Social Security for some good reasons. And one of the ones I just wanted to highlight on here was actually on the Social Security Administration website, where the Social Security Board of Trustees says this in regards to retirement. It says this: Social Security provides retirement, disability, and survivor benefits to qualifying recipients, the bulk of whom are 65 or older. The Social Security Trust Fund, which helps support it, is projected to be depleted by 2035, as Ben mentioned earlier. At that point, unless changes are made, recipients will receive only about 75% of benefits, according to the Social Security Board of Trustees. And it also goes on to say that between 2010 and 2050, the population of people over the age of 65 in America will double, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. In 2016, $912 billion of government spending went to Social Security, and $588 billion went to Medicare. I think, Doug, the issue that we're seeing here is the fact that the amount of money going out versus the money coming in is a lot less, and it's not keeping up. In fact, the actual website here itself is saying that we're going to run out. It's depleting the amount of that we're going to be able to pay out.
Yeah, there's a couple of things too. So sometimes it's not that it's just it's not just the volume of what's happening. I mean, ultimately, Social Security, the administration is backed by our government, right? It's the claims paying ability of our government. So there's a little bit of that who's going to be paying in and so forth. And there are a lot of great people who come into this country who pay their taxes and so forth, and it's awesome. But we also have a huge demand we haven't had on the system properly. So even though you got coming in, it's not meant to be a 1-for-1 or a 2-to-1 payment program. I can't remember what the statistics were when Social Security was.
How many people were paying in versus
there was so many people paying in versus people paying out. I mean, when you think about what's really going into Social Security out of your personal paycheck, how does that attribute to, what you're going to receive on a monthly basis and so forth when you retire? So the numbers are growing, but it's not nearly enough or nearly where it started out at, is how I understand it.
And that's why we always have politicians talking about Social Security and Medicare. However, I find it very interesting in Trump's last address, that did not get mentioned at all. Social Security and Medicare at the State of the Union address did not come up at all. And one of the biggest threats that we are seeing in relation to the viability of Social Security is actually the increase of longevity of people living today. So listen to this. In 1940, the year that first Social Security monthly benefit check was written, a 65-year-old male had a life expectancy of 12.7 years. A female of the same age could expect to live until 79.7, an additional 14.7 years. According to a 2009 periodic life table for the Social Security population, the life expectancy of a 65-year-old male has risen to 17.5 years, almost 5 years longer than in 1940. The life expectancy of a female at age 65 is now 20 years, an increase of 5.5 years. So we have people that are living longer and longer because of advances in medication, perhaps healthy lifestyles, that type of thing. And that is causing people to be taking more out of the system than they ever imagined would happen. And they haven't really changed those numbers. And so that's one of the major issues.
I really like the question a lot because I've had the same idea come up as I'm taking a look at different demographics and the population. And this, I think, is where you're coming from. So what we have is the population's moving behind the Gen Xers and the baby boomers, the millennials, who define basically right now approximately 21 to age 37. So they surpass the baby boomers of a population of 74.9 million. So they've just recently surpassed at 75.4 million. So that's not a huge number moving past them, but they have surpassed that number. Now, it's an increasing number with immigration. So what the projection is here is at 2036, which is about that time that Social Security is scheduled to go. Oh, I mean, it won't go away, but that's basically when they're saying they're going to run out of money.
Reduction of benefits.
Yeah. So at 2036, they're scheduled to be at about 81.1 million. And at that point, the oldest millennial is going to be around 56. So prime earning years, larger population. Why doesn't that balance the scale?
Well, we've got to remember that all these estimates about when Social Security is going to run out of money is taking into account the foreshadowing of what population growth is going to be. Now, if we are missing a certain amount of people coming into the country, or a number of different variables that could be skewing the number, we're still on a downward spiral. I mean, we're not. I mean, we're basically less than 20 years away from Social Security running out of money, and in the next 20 years, we have like 80, 90 million people going to retire to collect Social Security. We more than are retired now, I think. So it's using those. I mean, the factors are in there to evaluate that it's failed.
I think it's a perfectly fair question, and I think the understanding that we have other things moving along, like the longevity of a population, that timeline moving out. So there's all those factors coming into account. So it is an issue, but I think it's one that's really, for us, it's going to happen in our lifetime. I mean, that's what, 18, where are we at? 17 years away?
Yeah.
Before we plan to see. I mean, that's not a long time, guys. We're going to be seeing some things changing. And I think the address that you were talking about, John, is one of those potential foreshadows that policy might be shifting a little bit around the Social Security and what that means to the general population.
I think that this is an issue, though, that can't keep on getting kicked down the road. And I know we have other things we're working on right now. We're talking about illegal immigration. That's one of the things that is the forefront right now in our country, about building a wall and all this kind of thing. But I do believe that when it comes to Social Security and Medicare, which are the two largest expenditures of the government today, that those cannot be continued to be kicked down the road. But the problem is, why don't we address those things? Well, one, people out there don't want to have cuts, right? I mean, what if one of the propositions from President Trump was, well, we're going to cut everyone's Social Security benefits by 5%? Wouldn't be very popular, would it? And
well, it may not get reelected on that platform.
Exactly. But that's one of the main issues, that sometimes cuts need to be made when it comes to different things, and no one likes it when those cuts occur. So, But Doug, thank you for your question today. Really. Well,
the birth rate piece here is
3-2.
Yeah, it's
average American was having 3 babies back 25, 30 years ago, and now it's down to 2.
Less. I thought it was less than 2. It was like 1.6
okay.
or 1.8. But whatever that number is, it has dropped. And
I don't know what a 0.6 baby is, though. That's the thing. I just don't know.
I'm also a little curious, because I mean, that was a generation of smoking too. I mean, it was like smoking was prevalent, and around the quiet generation, the generation before the baby boomers and the boomers. And it's only kind of in the last 20 years that this has started to trend away.
So you're thinking that smoking drives procreation? Is that what you're trying to say here?
No, that wasn't the correlation I had.
I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this thing.
How I think it's amazing that the longevity, that people are continuing to live longer, even though there's been
this.
What?
I see where you're going with this now.
Yeah. So hey, that's
wait, one second. But so with the thing that's interesting, though, with this new tax law change, with the dependent care credit going from $1,250 to $2,000, and then the phase-out limits jumping all the way up over $400,000, I wonder how that's going to impact the birth rates. I wonder if that's going to. I mean, I know $2,000 is not a ton of money, but they always joke around about, hey, I had the baby on December 31st. I get to declare that, But I think we do need to encourage that we grow our country. I mean, with 320-ish million people, I mean, we need we need more kids. We need more of a younger group of people. We need another baby boomer generation.
We need more people paying Ben's Social Security.
Exactly. That I'm not going to
Very
get.
thoughthtful consideration
Yes,
that you
Ben,
have
thank
there.
you for your admonition to the audience there.
No problem.
Get busy.
No
Get
problem.
busy, audience. Yeah.
Well, many of our clients are, having people prepare their taxes for them right now. We have some clients who like to do it themselves, and in all disclosure, while we certainly, help to answer some questions here, we're not licensed tax advisors, and we don't prepare tax returns. So when it comes to your taxes, make sure that you consult a qualified tax advisor. That would be our little boilerplate there before we continue on with some of the rest of our questions that we have. So, hey, what's tax deferral, guys? That would be question number one that comes up.
You know, it's funny because we've done shows about financial jargon and how we all of a sudden throw these different terms out. And sometimes when we're talking with clients, we'll say, in order for you to actually to get maximum tax deferral, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden they'll stop us. What do you mean by tax deferral? What do you mean when you say that? And in tax deferral, quite simply, is just a method of postponing the payment of income tax on currently earned invested income. So you can get tax deferral in different ways. And so, Seth, what would be one of the most simple ways that you could get tax deferral of your dollars by
Have more
utilizing
children.
what?
Is that the answer?
No, not more children. No, that would be Ben's
Oh.
answer, I guess. No, Ben has 4. Yeah.
I'm promoting have more children.
But if you
for
just
Ben.
want to do, if you simply want to get tax
No more
deferral,
children. No more children. I love them all.
I think they capped you out, didn't they? Like they're like 4 is your max, like no more after that, right?
You're done. Yeah.
Okay.
I got a done notice from the government. We can't afford their Social Security.
for sure. Okay, so Seth, if I was asking you again, Seth, before we started talking about children population control and all that,
Sure.
If you were wanting to defer some taxes on some dollars and you want to do that every year, how could you do that, Seth? How would you defer those taxes?
Well, that's a really good question, John. And the way that typically we would show a tax deferral plan might be an IRA or a 401k. So we refer to these as qualified investments. And what that allows you to do is not pay taxes on that money going in. It can then accumulate without paying taxes in that accumulation period until age 59 and a half. At age 59 and a half, you then are now qualified to go ahead and start to withdraw those monies, okay, and use them for whatever your purposes might be. But they come out as an ordinary income tax.
Absolutely.
At that
Okay, so
point in
that would
time.
be a great way. And right now we're maxed out. If you're over age 50, you can actually do $6,500 a year into a plan like that. If you're under age 50, you can actually do
That's the IRA.
$5,500. Yeah. So
Right.
that's
And 401k has different contribution levels too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's also other ways in which you can defer taxes. One way would be if you had what we would call a non-qualified annuity, where you can put money into that, and over that annuity there's like an umbrella, and that umbrella says that any earnings that I have in this policy will not be taxed until later on. So, for instance, Seth, let's say that you were 45 years old, and I think, Seth, that would probably be a little generous for you, wouldn't it? Because you're younger than that. You're a very young man. Let's just say, Seth, you're 40 years old, as you are.
I'm gonna go with 29. I'm
29,
gonna jump
okay.
on.
You probably-
Kira's
I think he
bandwagon
looks
here.
28, but John,
Okay.
you keep going down that road.
So we're going to go with 40.
All right.
We're going to say, Seth, that you're 40 years old and you come up with a lump sum of money, a couple $100,000 that you get from somewhere. You could take that $200,000 and you could invest that into a non-qualified annuity, and then you could enjoy, hopefully, the growth on that over the next 20 years until you're age 60. And let's say that that money happened to actually double in value because it did pretty well. Actually, maybe you did do even better than that. So you had $200,000. Let's say it went up to $450,000 or $500,000. All the time that you had that annuity, you would be paying no taxes on those gains throughout the years. But there would be a time when you'd have to pay those taxes. And when would that be?
First of all, John, I really like the way you think here.
Giving you
after the
$200,000?
show- After the show, I'm going to call you to find out where this $200,000 is, and you're my guy. Okay.
I'm going to save you some tax money like you never saw it.
Well,
Seth.
I'm going to jump into the answer here. So, ultimately, when you take the money out, you're going to get taxed.
Is it your money or is it Seth's money? I thought it was Seth's money. Okay.
Well, now it's
Well,
mine.
you
Okay,
In
okay.
Rhode Island, it was
Okay.
their money, and now it's my money.
Seth wasn't happy enough about it. So, Ben, you're happy enough.
I'm
with
very
it.
happy.
Okay, you're
very
happy.
happy.
Okay.
Very happy. And what's interesting about that, to take the tax deferral to another level, is, we have these tax rules called LIFO, last in, first out. And a lot of the work that we do is trying to address LIFO. Like when you have a CD at the bank and you make money, you pay taxes on it every year because it's not tax deferred, assuming it's not an IRA.
That's where you get a 1099 from your bank, right?
Right.
From Bank of America, you get a 1099 for your interest you earned.
Yeah, exactly. And you pay taxes every year. Well, with the annuity, it gives you that tax deferral, like an IRA would give you tax deferral. Okay, if it's non-qualified money, meaning it's money you've saved outside of a retirement plan. But when it comes to LIFO, when you take that money out, what's interesting about an annuity is it's not taxed as capital gain. Now, a lot of people think it is. Oh, I have all this gain in my annuity. It's taxed as ordinary income.
Just as if you had earned it.
Earned it in a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally a different tax scenario. So, when you touch this, you have to. Once you stick the money in the annuity, it has the same rules. You have to wait till you're in retirement years at 59 and a half to even touch it. So there's a couple different things that you're going to fall into. But then annuities have other ways of, you can do things like annuitization and so forth, and you can play around with the LIFO rules, and it's pretty interesting. So if you actually talk to a tax person, you can understand that you can actually get away from a little bit of the LIFO and make the distribution on your principal and interest over a period of time versus taking because LIFO means you have to take all the gain out first, which means every piece of gain you're taking out is going to be taxed as ordinary income. But when you annuitize an annuity contract, it breaks out the gain and the principal equally over time.
Okay, Ben, I think we're creating some more questions here that we want to answer really quickly. When you say annuitize your annuity, well, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does
Oh
that
my
mean?
gosh, jargon. Well, if you don't know what it means, give us a call. But one of the things is it's creating a stream of income in what we call that is a method of income distribution.
Oh, so basically it means that you're creating income that you can't outlive, perhaps. So it's
Potentially, depending. You could take time periods, or you could take lifetime. So there's all sorts of income distribution periods you can take. But one of the things that people don't realize, I've sat down with people all the time that are just taking withdrawals from their annuities, and so forth, and they're paying a lot of taxes because over the last number of years we've had quite a bit of gain in the marketplace, and people come in and say, hey, can you look at my stuff? And I'm like, hey, listen, why are you taking income out of this potentially? You might be able to reduce your immediate tax hit or spread your tax hit out over time to reduce that impact. And those are things that if you're not aware of that, I would highly encourage you to talk to your CPA, get more information, or give us a call, and we can discuss it with you, and if that's something you think you might be qualified for.
Great illustration, and also brings up some other questions, I'm sure, as well. You know what? We're going to take a quick break here at Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Also find us at Facebook at 3D Investing.
Hello, my name is John Ryder, a partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. 10,000 Americans are turning 65 every day, and planning a successful retirement today is more challenging than ever, with a roller coaster stock market, political and economic uncertainty, and so many unknowns when it comes to the escalating costs of healthcare. Let us show you how we utilize the 3D method of investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Using our experience, let us help you plan for a successful retirement. Now is the right time to start getting help. Give us a call at Brayshaw Financial Group at 855-226-8551. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, we have offices across the country. We would love the opportunity to meet with you. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us, and we welcome you to our offices. Call 855-226-8551 today.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben Brayshaw, John Ryder, and Seth Krussman.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Right now, we have been talking about some questions from you, our listeners, as well as our clients that have questions around taxes. John, what do we have next on tap?
Yeah. So the next question is, what is the capital gains tax? Because we all say things like, I don't want to pay capital gains. So what does that mean? So capital gains can really be, I think, broken down into two different areas. You have short-term gains and you have long-term gains. And if you put your money into an investment vehicle and you go ahead and let's say you put your $100,000, Seth. Now you're down to 100. I gave you 200 before. Now you get 100.
What happened?
Yeah. Your performance is bad. Yeah. So I'm giving you $100,000, Seth, and you put it into an investment. Let's say that you put it into a you could say you put it into a CD, and that $100,000 goes to $101,000 in the course of 6 months. If you cash that out in 6 months, that's a short-term capital gain.
Right, because it's less than the 12 months.
Yes. And if you say, well, I'm going to hold on to it for a longer period of time, and I'm going to hold on to it for 12 months and 1 day, then that is what we'd call a long-term gain. So there's long-term and short-term. And that's pretty much what we want to communicate with people when it comes to that.
So the interesting piece here around the taxes is that basically the 20% tax rate for the long-term capital gain for if you have a 39.6% income tax bracket. So that can significantly leverage down the amount of taxes that you're paying if you have a long-term versus a short-term. And I've also come across some scenarios where people are really thoughtful about taking distributions in early retirement scenarios, especially, and limiting those capital gains down to even 0% if if you're in that 10 to 15% tax bracket, which is an interesting scenario. If people really want to start to structure down and find ways to be unique in approaching an early retirement scenario, or financial independence, FI is also the kind of the movement around that. That's one of those stories that's out there and worth taking a look at.
Well, I think this is another one of those things. Understanding the difference between gain tax and income tax it's kind of like this, gray area of unknown in our world of just kind of the average person. You're working your job every day. You're making a decent living. You're putting your money into your 401k. You're trying to do for retirement. You're trying to save a little bit for college, and you're dealing with kids and getting them to sports, and you've got all these different moving concerns. And then you're looking at some stocks you may have bought that are, in some brokerage account or whatever that you own, and you sell them in less than 12 months, and it's called short-term gains. I think what people don't realize is that instantly, that word short-term gains, people don't realize that doesn't spin into a gain kind of tax. It instantly spins to income tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you go back, you're flip-flopping between long-term gain. There's really just long-term gains, and then there's income tax. And what income bracket are you at?
Well said.
And so I think that's one of these things. People don't understand the moving parts to their portfolios and how to maximize, because it's not about what great stock you bought or what investment you own. It's not about that. It's how much money you get to keep. Mm-hmm. And I think what people do is it's just like the Social Security article that we discussed about how money is just being missed because people aren't being educated. People are paying taxes because there's just kind of there's this automatic road.
I
John,
gotta pay them. So
you okay, John? You drive here to record this radio, and you drive through 2 toll booths. That's just simply a tax that you choose to pay to take the easy route to get here. But you could drive a number of back roads and never hit a toll booth.
avoid those.
And it'd be totally fine. Now, the difference is that if the toll booth was $1,000 to go through each toll booth, you probably would do those roads.
I would use my helicopter probably.
Okay, your helicopter. So, but you get my point. If you were paying it, if the toll is so high and it's unnecessary, then to cause undue harm, just lacks the planning.
So basically what you're saying is there are a lot of different taxes that we can avoid, and that's really what we help people do. Help them minimize them when we can. Not that we can avoid them altogether, but there certainly are some taxes along the way that we can help to minimize.
Yeah, if you have an enormous amount of gain in a stock because you bought one randomly in 11 and a half months, you've got to sell it because you think it's going to crash, and you sell it, well, you're going to get taxed at your income level. That's a concern to have.
Could be significant also depending upon what income level you're at, obviously.
Yeah. I think another question that is worthy of note here is that we get a lot of questions on cost basis And what does that mean? Because we talk about that a lot, and it's generally determined, of the original purchase that you make on whatever the investment is, whatever that value is when you purchase that. That is what your cost basis is. So if the investment goes up, okay, that's considered the gain. And if that gain is taken in less than 12 months, then it comes out as an ordinary income. And so that's a relationship there that we're discussing.
Another way that I talk about that with cost basis is it's the amount of money you've already paid tax on that you've invested. Right. That's a good way of saying it. The only time that story, that concept breaks down is when you have what we call a step up in cost basis. When you have a parent, pass away and you inherit an asset, it will, step up its cost basis, meaning the amount that, was invested to make that investment.
On the date of
death. Yeah. So, but for the most part, it's, what you've actually paid taxes on because, retirement plans don't, and I say this carefully, don't usually have a cost basis, right? So, the vast majority of retirement plans don't have a cost basis because you haven't paid tax on it. But people who have made non-deductible contributions, which means, hey, I over-contributed to my retirement plan this year and I shouldn't have, I made a mistake, you can actually, at certain times, that money stays in that account, but now you have to pay taxes on it and it has a cost basis. It's just interesting, and sometimes we have to, and we've all had to track cost bases in retirement plans, but that's not traditionally the scenario.
Hey, what's interesting too, guys? Just we're talking about tax losses and tax gains, that type of thing. It is interesting to note as well that if you have some tax gains, they can be offset by tax losses. So up to $3,000 a year can be claimed as a tax deduction if you have a capital loss on a stock. So
right. Can I deduct my home office expenses? I think this is a really good one for us.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. I mean, we, I maintain a home office
I do.
too. Yeah. Well, I do.
I can.
We have our office. We all have our office space, but there's some stuff that you just don't keep at the office, and there's stuff that you use at home and you work and so forth. But I think this is an interesting area. I think there's a couple of things here's your litmus test for your office items. One, it has to be your principal place of business as an option. So if that's the case, yes, you would absolutely meet the criteria.
No questions asked there. Yeah.
Yep. Or two, a place where you meet customers, clients, or patients in the normal course of business. Okay.
Does Starbucks count or Dunkin' Donuts count?
No, because you don't own it.
It matters if you own the Dunkin' Donuts stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you use a part of your home regularly for your business, that's a gray area. But if you use it exclusively for your business, that is absolutely okay, according to this article. So, if you're claiming your living room as your office space or your dining room table because you work at the dining room table a lot, that is a function of your home, so that would not qualify. But if you have a separate office.
Now, if you're a landscaper and you own a separate garage where you park all of your landscaping
or a shed on your property,
in there, or a shed on your property, then you can actually deduct that as well too, as long as it's part of your primary business or trade.
Right. So that's interesting, and then the deduction. Because we have so many small business owners that contact us, and so that's good. But deduction for improvements and repairs that you make to your home, generally speaking, you can't deduct those on your business. Okay. Now, if you had a shed, built potentially on that, maybe you could deduct, things like that. But the improvements, if you ended up building shelving in your garage for storing your equipment for your business, you could deduct that. Things that are very specific.
Yeah, so take advantage of what you can, in
right.
other words.
But if you're, repaving your driveway or, putting a fence up or adding a bathroom, those are not going to be deductibles. Those are improvements to your home, and those would go.
Or even repairs, either. If you're repairing something, repairing your roof, you can't deduct that.
Right, and that would be part of that would be added to your cost basis of your home. Going back to the cost basis scenario.
Sure.
Well, we get it. No one really enjoys talking taxes out there.
I've had fun today, Seth. I don't know. I've had fun.
I think one of the things that I love that happens in the process of this type of a show is that you get an opportunity to have more questions and hopefully what we've discussed has been helpful, and it's maybe caused that reaction for you to have more questions and more scenarios that really need more direct or a customized approach. Basically, we need to talk to you directly. Feel free, give us a call, 855-226-8551, or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. We're always happy to kind of roll out some of these questions that you have as they come up for show topics and ideas and just conversation. And what do we like to accomplish? Goals, roadblocks. We need to be able to identify those and help when saving money. And taxes can really take, on their ability to save money when you think of it.
Seth, here's what I think, Seth. Here's the deal. We're all going down this highway of life, right? And that highway of life, we all have different tolls that we need to pay. And I tell you, it's funny when in preparing this show on tax planning and saving money on taxes and answering some of these questions, there are so many different tolls that we pay along the way. Now, I know, Seth, right before the show, I was chatting with you, and you said, "No, out in Oregon, we don't pay tolls."
Well, and we don't pay taxes either. We're off the grid.
But let me tell you, out here in New England, we pay a lot of tolls, and it would probably be even worse if we're in New Jersey, New York. But we pay. There's so many different taxes that we pay. It could be payroll tax, it could be property tax, it could be consumption tax. There's an alcohol tax, a carbon tax, a fat tax, a financial transaction tax, a luxury tax. They're talking about. Bloomberg's talking about the soda tax, a sin tax, a stamp duty tax. You name it. There's so many different taxes out there, and really, what our job to do as financial advisors is to help you along the way with some of those different roadblocks that come up, with some of those different tolls that you may pay along the way. And sometimes you may not want to pay that toll, but sometimes you need to. But sometimes there's some ways you can avoid that. Just like Ben was saying earlier, if you want to go around the side road and skip that toll, you can do that. If you want to take your helicopter, like I was talking about doing, and go to work that way and miss some tolls, you can do it that way. But the thing is, in one way or another, you're going to be paying tolls in the game of life, and we just have to figure out how we can help minimize those so that you have more money left in your pocket at the end of the day.
You got it. If you need help with a plan, if you're looking to sit down with a financial advisor and put a plan together around your goals and what that looks like, that's what we're here for at Brayshaw Financial Group. That's what Money on Tap is all about, is helping you to identify, uncover, and discover what does your plan look like for you. We'd love to help you put that together. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Thanks a lot, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.